Haven't been happy for about a week now. Something came up and triggered a lot of dissociation and depression. And there were little moments in between where it was kind of okay and tolerable, but mostly I've been fighting to sleep and just everywhere I go, just all this time, I just feel like I'm not here. And I feel gutted. And I'm doing everything I can and everything that I'm supposed to do, all of this mindfulness and um, practicing opposite action. And I'm in a lot of grief. And I don't handle reality shifts well. And even if it's been my own delusions that are helping me get through, when they're lifted, I have to deal with a lot of the crap that's underneath that. And I have to go back to grieving. And it's like a wound that keeps getting healed and then ripped open and healed and ripped open and healed and ripped open, and I'm tired and I can't deal with it anymore. So I'm gonna have to just entirely block that process out of my life and move forward. But underneath, there's a revelation of shame, and that shame is highly destructive. It's not working, it's chronic, and it's leaked into so many areas of my life that I don't know how to get rid of it anymore. And it's been around for such a long time that now I have this self-destructive method of dealing with everything. I can't even have a job that's above minimum wage because I'm ashamed of money. I can't handle anything that is representative of me having worth. And this is in my relationships and in every area of my life. Because I haven't been able to get ahead, because I've been too ashamed of my inability to get ahead that I haven't been able to get ahead. And that sounds like self-pity, but it's not. And I'm angry that I gave over my time to people prematurely. I'm so embarrassed all the time of how I don't understand how anything works. And I told myself that if I understand, I have permission to participate in life. But if I don't understand, I need to step out, and I can't be a part of anything until I figure it out on my own in pain. And I punish myself with that pain, and I won't let myself have a life. And then I get angry toward people that are in this state of happiness. And I feel like it's this classist struggle. It feels like it seems like the fact that I have such a struggle with understanding how life works and hiding my whole life, how far behind I am. Because if people see how vulnerable you are, they'll hurt you. So you have to pretend you're not so that you can play along. And I'm so sensitive to criticism, but not as like an attack to myself or my identity, but in a fear of if someone turns to me and is like, "Of course something's like that. Why wouldn't it be like that?" Or they correct me and they go, "Why would you have feelings in this way?" Anything that relates to, "This is how you should be performing appropriately in social behavior," I'm immediately in an intense state of shame, and I don't know how to speak up, and all I can think is I have to hide because if they find out how socially inept I am, I will be lonely. And so I have to keep up. I have to pretend because no one can know how much of my life has been stunted and how far behind I am and how far behind I'm always going to be because I didn't have a lot of normal development. And then I couldn't get ahead, and all my peers were so much more advanced than I was, and I was hiding that I wasn't okay, and then I'd get sick, and I'd get more behind, and I would push myself so hard. I'm not even sure anymore if the depression is depression or if it's just extreme shame. And I want that part of me that isn't good enough, that's vulnerable, and that's embarrassing, and the simpler part, I want that part to be supported. And I don't wanna have to pretend to be someone that's enough so that I'll have relationships and inclusion in my life, and I've alienated myself by perceptions of what I thought others thought. Everything I do in life is a shame and a fear of being excluded and ostracized and not welcome. And I'm hurt by this overwhelming loyalty to people that no longer even remember I exist. Most people don't know I exist anymore. The people who I still think about have been gone for years. And I wouldn't contact them because I wouldn't want them to know that they matter to me more than I do to them, and I don't wanna live with that power dynamic. I don't want the embarrassment. It's scary when that stuff I managed to stuff away from myself when that all comes back up again. And in the past, every time I've said, "Oh, no, I'm having an episode, I'm going back into mental health problems," and I'm not fucking going back into mental health problems. This is not borderline personality disorder, this is not bipolar, this is nothing more than the basic fucking shame and trauma that any human being deals with, and this is what I'm dealing with, and I can't keep giving it these labels because I think I've harmed myself by splitting up who I am into pieces, which I need to look into because there are so many different versions of what I'm allowing myself to be and all these lines that I'm not allowing myself to cross, and shame has destroyed me, and it's not allowed me to participate in life. And I'm holding on myself up to these standards, and it is just so damaging. Shame makes me sick. I'm tired of listening to what other people say about what they think is normal, and I have to just quietly not speak and be corrected, and I'm I'm used to it. I'm not I don't assert myself anymore because I haven't for years. Because I came into this reality not knowing what the fuck was going on. And like handing over my values and letting everyone else form values for me because it was the only way I could have connections with people. And so everything I've ever valued that wasn't valued by others, I just stuffed away and hid and pretended I didn't care about anything that I care about. And at this point, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever gonna bounce back or if this is always just gonna sit there because I've created it's saturated me. I've created habits and I've created a self that doesn't work. And nothing I'm saying right now makes any sense. None of this even slightly reflects the kinds of thinking I've been doing. I don't know how to express it. But the worse I feel, the more I retreat. I don't talk to anyone. I won't tell anyone what's going on and and how lonely I am and how I stay in bed when I'm not good. And even when I am good, I don't make room for anyone else in my life anymore because I'm too ashamed to have people connections with people. I don't hate myself, I just hate being alone. And I hate feeling like it's not a choice, that I have to do this, that I have to live like this. Because I don't know how else to connect. And I put all my energy into the wrong person. I'm embarrassed of the values I was raised on, and I don't understand because when I express things like, well, I put so much into this relationship, and I thought that if there had to be some point that if you've given someone so much of your life and you've worked that hard that there shouldn't be any justice in walking away. But then the predominant values in society say, no, of course. No one should be in a relationship if they're free to walk away at any given time. That's not freedom. I wanted the freedom of security and trust. I very carefully built freedom on behalf of 2 people for years, and now I don't have any, and they have all of it, and I can't understand that. I don't like anything about my life right now. I just stick with it because it's where I am, and it's what I do when I wake up in the morning. I'm just here, and I don't wanna be here. I don't like my life anymore, but I'm too far in. It's like, it's irreversible. All these bad decisions I've made my whole life because I didn't have anyone to support and help me understand which decisions and options I really had. And it's so embarrassing to make so many mistakes and to see that assistance was right there, or the answers when you finally figure it out, and it's just so embarrassing. Everything I do in life, I do it to not feel embarrassed. So much that I'm trying to be invisible because I can't think of anything I'm not embarrassed about. And I'm heartbroken and I'm grieving again. So I guess I will keep taking care of myself and I'll go to bed and I'll go to sleep. And then I'll feed myself and I'll go to my job and I'll take care of my cat. And then I'll cry later and then I'll just keep doing it again and again because I don't have anything that I'm living for. So I'm just going to stay alive and be completely, utterly lonely and wait to die because I'm not living for anything or anyone. And I don't know what I have of value to share or give. And even if I am on the verge of finally figuring it out this time, and maybe on the other side, I'll finally block it. I'll find all these blocks. I'll find why I couldn't live my life. Let's just say I finally get that freedom and I finally break through and I come out on the other side. What am I gonna do with it? What am I gonna do with my life? Just keep just give it all to others because I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to enjoy it because I don't believe in enjoyment because I'm ashamed of enjoyment and I'm intimidated by the world of people who enjoy, all these people that dominate the planet. All these people that have somehow earned the right to be happy. I can't relate to them. I hate them. I don't want to party with them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to be their friends. I hate people. They're so oblivious to the rest of what's going on in the world. We're just so oblivious. They're so oblivious to people around them. And they walk all over, and then if they want something, they just brush people aside to get to what they want. And they put people down. And they scramble over people's heads to get to where they want to be so that they can be on the top. And I hate those people. And I hate how careless people are. Because I didn't just shame myself this whole time. It came from somewhere, and I blame a lot of people. I don't consider it sick right now. I don't think I'm mentally ill or having a crisis exactly, other than just what I've been managing on my own. It's just toxic shame. I've never been able to have a job where I could make money, where I could be stable so that I can live my life and enjoy life with people and share that joy. The only people out there that are sharing joy with each other are people who can afford it, people who thought that they had worth. And in order to have worth, you have to think you have more worth than someone else. Because the world wouldn't really turn if everybody had the exact amount of worth. And it doesn't. Because status and because people feel good when they're above other people. And when they don't know how to deal with people that are scary or weird or emotional, they just find ways to put up walls so that they can pretend those people don't exist. Or stick them in jail or come up with laws to separate criminals from good people and good people from bad people. And point finger and call people names like, "Oh, that person's associated with whatever makes them not good." How on earth could I have all this internalized shame if it wasn't an external problem? It is an external problem, and I have internalized it, and I am living with way more than I can handle. And I have to find a way now to extract it. But I think it pervades who I am at this point. I think it's just too heavily incorporated into who I am. I don't think I hate myself. I just don't think that I'm just trying to get away from being lonely. I just don't want to be someone who can't be included or who has to defend themselves. I don't want the embarrassment and shame when I feel like I don't belong somewhere and I have to justify to myself that I do, or I have to prove to other people that I do, or I have to act in a way that isn't rejected or isolated. It's a lot of basic survival pain. It's just always everything I do, everywhere I go, it's this massive hidden wealth of self-protection. And trying really hard not to be visibly hurt. Because if people see you're hurt, they'll either bully you or they'll ignore you. So, just would rather keep isolating myself and withdrawing because I don't have the energy to play along. But then I also can't handle this anymore. So I have to solve it. I have to write it all down and see it and figure out where the loops are. And I have to solve it all myself, which means being more isolated and more hiding and more being cut off. And the more cut off you are, the less you know how to take part because you don't know what the rules are. The more you miss out on, and then you try to come back in, and it's just more shame and more embarrassment because you're less connected. Because not only do you have years and years to catch up on and always being attentive, always like hiding on the internet so that you can figure out how to jump back in the game. But I don't understand the rules. And when I work on it on my own, it's even more a source of shame because I can't figure out I can't figure it out. And it's embarrassing. It's bordering on covert narcissism, but it's not. I think it's a social anxiety. It's not the fear of rejection, of being rejected, of being rejected self, but just knowing the sensation of not being able to belong and feeling like an outsider and the pain of that, the pain of not belonging. And that pain is behind everything I do. But I'm at this point more comfortable talking about it in a public place like YouTube where I know nobody's gonna watch than I am having another conversation behind closed doors with another fucking therapist. All that ever did was strengthen that fear that something was wrong with me and that in order to belong, I had to work on myself enough to deserve it. And I never wanted to go it in the first place. I just felt like I had to because it was that or feeling bad. So I'm now looking into internal family systems therapy, which I'm really afraid to start, but I'm trying to learn it because it's designed for people with dissociative identity disorder or other people, other anyone who has a kind of trauma where they've broken themselves into parts. And I haven't started it yet, but to some extent, watching my videos all year, I can tell that I go through vastly different versions of me, and there are parts that I show, and there are parts that I hide, and that's not the normal way to live. You can't hide that. You can't hide such big parts of who you are. So I don't think that I go through bipolar ups and downs. I think that there is always a down in me, there's always an up in me, and that in the way that my personalities are separated, there will be times when parts of me come out. So I'm going to try to find a way to address that carefully on my own in the next while because I'm nervous about addressing it, but I'm also so tired. I want to do more self-work. And it feels cruel. It feels like when I do more self-work, it's all to be enough, to be accepted, and I don't really want to do that anymore. I'm tired of rearranging myself for the comfort of other people. And I guess I'd just rather find people in my life that recognize and appreciate who I am, and I'll try not to fragment myself too much and be parts of that for them. And I'll try to find people that I can know in full who are okay with the various sides of me and all the emotions and understanding of it. And hopefully, over time, we'll find unity. And I would really like to be able to give. Like, that's the most painful thing. It's not just about getting your needs met, it's about being able to give. So, being alienated, you don't get to participate in any way whatsoever. You don't get to share or receive anything. You're just separate. And I don't want to be like that anymore. But the pain of being integrated is also really, really painful and really terrifying, to the point that it's easier to check out and not to take part. So it's like a catch-22, and I don't know which side of the fence to be on, and I don't know how to be in the middle. And so far, most of the people that I do talk to, when I talk to them, I give them a very small version of the reality of who I am. So that is just enough that I can have belonging but not be seen in my entirety, because then I wouldn't belong. And then I'd be at a risk of shame again. And I'm not fucking going to therapy again. I've done this my whole life. I've been in, like, over and over and over again. And every time people in my life are like, wow, you're so distressed, why don't you go back to therapy? And they think that that's the way out. It's not. It has its limitations. So I'll keep practicing what I've got to work with and all the tools I know. Everything is just so scary. It's like, don't do things that'll make it worse, but you never know when you're doing something if it's gonna be okay or not okay, if it's gonna blow up in your face, if it's gonna feel okay. I have a hard enough time allowing myself to feel okay or happy or good or comfortable or safe. I don't even allow myself to feel those things half the time. It's easier to feel bad sometimes. I don't want to, but when you reject feeling good, the default is just feeling nothing or feeling bad, and so this is where I'm at, and this is where I've been at for years. I wish I was more whole. I wish I didn't have vastly different versions of myself. But as of lately, that's what I've been dealing with, is a lot of the sensation of fragmented emotions, fragmented states. I remember all of it, and I remember seeing it all. I don't feel divided from myself other than emotionally and emotional states. But I don't feel like feeling like this. So I wish that I had not cried on camera, and I wish I'd been more orderly and go to bed. I have somewhere to be in the morning, so that's probably a good thing. It's been like my whole week has been full of lots of distractions, and they work while they last, but then when it comes back down to it, I come back to this. And then I get stuck in this and I have to push my way out. And it's really exhausting and I'm really tired. So I'm gonna go to bed.